We'll start. Okay, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the virtual college exploration for all Virginia students, sponsored by the Virginia Association of Collegiate Registrars and Admission Officers and StriveScan. Thank you for joining us. A few housekeeping announcements before we get started. You can use the Q&A button on your screen to type your questions to our presenters at any time. Your camera and microphone are off, so the panelists cannot see or hear you. This is just one of many different sessions that are happening, so be sure to check out our full schedule at strivescan.com/Virginia. And this presentation is being recorded and will be available within about a week at that same website, strivescan.com/Virginia. I would now like to turn it over to our presenters.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for the Women's College Experience panel. We have a poll that we're going to share while we're waiting for everybody to join. We'll give you 30 to 60 seconds. So we're interested in learning about what you guys are most excited about in your college search and being able to do once you're in college. So you can either use the link at the bottom here or use the QR code to scan that and let us know what you're interested in. And again, if you've just joined us, we've got this poll up. You can use the URL at the bottom of the screen or the QR code to scan that and answer the question. All right, well, it looks like sports clubs and organizations are the most popular right now, which is awesome. We have a lot of those available for you. And we do have a few quick tips since I know a couple people joined late. So if this, I'm sure you guys have been doing a lot of Zoom classes and things like that. This one's a little bit different. Again, as Marshall said, we can't see or hear you. So if you have any questions, please use that Q&A submit question at the bottom of the screen to submit your questions to us. You might also want to switch to side-by-side mode so you can see us and the presentation a little bit easier. There are lots of reasons you might be looking at a women's college, and we're hoping to show you how great women's colleges are. Oh, Audrey, if you could go to the next slide for me. So I'm just going to introduce our panelists. I am Jessie Pugh, Senior Admissions Counselor at Briar College, which is located in Amherst, Virginia.
Hi there, my name is Alexis Skeen. I'm an Assistant Director of Admission at Agnes Scott College, located in Decatur, Georgia.
Hello, everyone. My name is Audrey Maney Hernandez. I use she, her, hers pronouns, and I'm an Assistant Director of Admission at Mount Holyoke College in South Hadley, Massachusetts.
Hi, my name is Kayla McKinney. I'm a Senior Admission Counselor at Hollins University in Roanoke, Virginia.
Oh, to get us started again, we have another poll for you. So you can scan the QR code or use that same URL from the previous slide to let us know what you think of when you hear the words women's college. And I'll give you guys like 30 or so seconds to answer that.
So I'm seeing responses on my end, Audrey, that might not be showing up on your screen, which is okay. But I'll read my responses, Jessie. So I'm seeing community, empowerment, network, and clicky.
Those are all interesting and great responses. So we're hoping to dispel some of the clicky myths and show you just how empowering a women's college can actually be. So I'm gonna focus on academics right now. Academics are important for any school that you're looking at and important to every college search. And you wanna make sure the schools you're looking at have the major you want. You can help you find the right major if you're coming in undecided. But what about class sizes for your intended major? What can you do outside the classroom for your intended major? And how can the academic foundations of your chosen college help you beyond college? So most women's colleges have similarities and differences. So our academic similarities, it's a little bit hard to read on this screen, but we have women-centered education, meaning that everything is focused about being a woman or and different benefits. You don't have guys in the classroom who are kind of hogging the attention. You are the leaders in the classroom. Academic freedom, you are able to choose what you want as a major. Women attending women's colleges are 1.5 times more likely to major in STEM programs. And you are able to go into those male-dominated fields without feeling belittled or having to be scared of, the guys kind of pushing you out of that major. There's a lot more academic support. Not only do your faculty and staff know you really, really well, alumni come back to the colleges and let you know about academic opportunities after graduation, internships, postgraduate jobs, things like that. And Meredith College actually has an advising model called Strong Points, which is another school that's not represented here, but definitely an option for you to look at. And active participation. Women are the only ones in the classroom most of the time. In a lot of schools, there's no back row. We have small class sizes, which you'll see on the next couple slides. So you are able to get your professor's attention. You don't have to fight for attention with other students or guys who tend to be a little bit louder and a little bit more dominant in the classroom. And cross-registration opportunities. Many of our schools allow you to take classes at other institutions or work with other institutions on different projects so we can help get you where you want to go. Small class sizes. So this is all of our average class sizes. As I was saying, there's really no back row because there's lots of great one-on-one attention from professors, and professors know you so well that they frequently write like 3 and 4 page letters of recommendation for you when you go on to graduate school, instead of the, yes, she was in my class, no, she didn't fail, I wish her all the best, that you get at really big institutions. Of course, there are also unique differences. Location, each of us have fairly similar locations, but Agnes Scott is urban, which is kind of the big difference. Sweet Briar and Hollins are the suburban, rural kind of borderline. We're close to cities, but we're not too, right in the heart of a city. And Mount Holyoke is fairly similar as well, pretty close to the Connecticut River Valley on the western side of Massachusetts. Student bodies, they range from 400 students here at Sweet Briar up to 2,200 students at Mount Holyoke. So different sizes. Almost all the states are represented at each of our institutions and several countries outside the US. At Mount Holyoke, 28% of students are international. So you get a really great, well-rounded experience and people coming in with different experiences from your own. We all have unique majors. Sweet Briar offers engineering, science, and an equine studies certificate. So if you're interested in horseback riding, we can definitely do that for you. Hollins offers clinical psychology and counseling skills. Agnes Scott has neuroscience and astrophysics. And Mount Holyoke has critical social thought, architectural studies, and data science. But definitely look at all of the majors we offer. Most of us are liberal arts institutions, but that doesn't mean we focus solely on the arts or solely on the sciences. We really mix things up. But while academics are important, so is campus community. So Audrey is going to talk about that a little bit more.
Awesome. Thank you so much for handing it off, Jessie, and for your thoughtful summary of academics at women's colleges. So like Jessie said, community is likewise extremely important. And at women's colleges, that sense of community and belonging, I think, is really the heart and soul of the learning and living experience. Women's colleges promote and celebrate community building through intimate and collaborative classroom environments, student-driven and affinity-based social opportunities, emphases on identity development and inclusion, and a really unique set of traditions. So this is a quote from the Women's College Coalition. Women's colleges are intentional communities that foster lifelong friendships. They are also highly effective in helping students relate to people from different backgrounds. I certainly find that to be true as a women's college alum myself. So at women's colleges, the living environments are really as dynamic as our learning environments. So social life is defined very much by choice. There's a broad spectrum of events and social programming on every women's college campus that really suits everyone's interests and social styles. So you can really make it whatever you want it to be. And I'll review some of those opportunities as we talk about the sense of community at women's colleges in the next few slides. First, you might be wondering who even attends women's colleges. And in fact, the student body at a women's college is often even more diverse than at similar co-ed colleges and universities. So it's hard to kind of establish the traits that make for a typical women's college student, but I think that that's a really good thing. Even with a smaller average population and without cisgender men attending, we do have even more robust diversity and even more identities represented, which means that, like Jessie said, there are folks bringing in myriad different perspectives and ways of navigating the world that teach you so much about the world around you as well as about your own experience. Women's college populations tend to reflect a greater variety of racial and ethnic identities, as well as gender identities, sexual orientations, socioeconomic classes, and geographic backgrounds across a wider portion of the student body. According to research from UCLA, which is titled "Who Attends a Women's College?" Quote, women's colleges currently enroll a more racially and ethnically diverse population of students than any of the comparison institutions. And also according to this study, women's college students are the least likely to hail from high schools and neighborhoods that are mostly or completely white. According to the Women's College Coalition, women's colleges also boast more socioeconomic diversity than co-ed institutions and have a higher proportion of first-generation students or students who are the first in their family to attend college. Further, women's colleges tend to have vibrant sexual and gender diversity on their campuses. Many have formalized trans-inclusive admission policies, and many women's colleges now identify as gender diverse or gender inclusive. So as you can see, there are several kind of bodies of research that have shown that the folks who attend women's colleges tend to kind of be motivated by this presence of diversity and inclusion, and not just compositionally. Of course, we have diverse demographics, but I think it's important that those identities are also supported through programming on all of our campuses. So in addition to cultivating these diverse and welcoming communities, women's colleges offer really unique experiential learning opportunities that strengthen those relationships between students, faculty, and a global network of alumni and community connections. Internships, study abroad programs, unique institutes, leadership experiences, and research programs reinforce that sense of belonging that students feel as they are encouraged and supported in turning their in-class interests into out-of-class actions. Women's college students participate in activities that integrate those experiences out of class more often than counterparts at coeducational institutions. So kind of another example of how that kind of community mindedness, even as it relates to academics, is more robust at women's colleges than at co-ed institutions. So to give you a sense of a few examples of what that might look like, here are some academic activities students at our women's colleges have access to in order to take their in-class learning into the real world. These opportunities build community by bringing together students from across campus who are like-minded and share similar interests and ambitions, bringing them together into a single initiative and creating connections between those students as well as the off-campus community, either locally or globally. Also, opportunities like these establish a sense of belonging because they're enabling students to pursue unique interests and creating space for themselves and carving out that space for their goals and talents on campus. So an example of one of those opportunities at Mount Holyoke is called the Link Initiative. Through Mount Holyoke's Link Initiative, each Mount Holyoke student is guaranteed a minimum stipend of $3,000 for a summer internship or research experience before they graduate, either in the US or abroad. This program enables our students to pursue an otherwise unpaid or low-paid internship or research opportunity, ensuring that economic barriers do not affect any student's ability to obtain empowering experiences outside of the classroom that will inform their future. At Hollins, Hollins has January short term or J-term, which gives students the entire month of January on an annual basis to focus on a study abroad program, an alumni-sponsored internship, or independent research. Agnes Scott has something called the Sophomore Class Atlanta Leadership Experience, which places second-year students in real nonprofits and businesses all around Atlanta for a 4-day leadership immersion externship experience. And Sweet Briar offers grants for engaged learning, which provide $2,000 for each student to use for out-of-class experiences, including study abroad, independent research, and internships. Students learn how to write grant proposals in Core 120, the Mindful Writer, and then they use those skills to request that $2,000 for their academic use. I mentioned earlier that traditions are also a big part of the community building that goes on at women's colleges. I think if there's one thing that unites women's colleges, it might be traditions. Traditions offer opportunities for students to celebrate each other, to lead and collaborate with other class years, and to connect with students they may not otherwise spend much time around. Traditions build community and create lasting bonds that are celebrated throughout the academic year. So some traditions are even celebrated by or with alumni as well. So you're able to continue engaging in those treasured traditions well beyond your time as a student. For example, Hollins alumni throw Tinker Day parties around the world, and Mount Holyoke alumni are invited to walk with their graduating class in the annual Laurel Parade. So Hollins, as I mentioned, celebrates Tinker Day on a surprise day each fall with canceled classes, costumes, Krispy Kreme donuts, and skits, and shared songs between classes after climbing Tinker Mountain. Agnes Scott welcomes students home with Black Cat Week, the college's version of homecoming week that includes a bonfire, a formal class competitions, and decorating the quad with class colors. Mount Holyoke's Laurel Parade, which dates back to 1900, marks the transition from student to alumna. And each spring during commencement weekend, graduating seniors and alums celebrating their reunions process through campus in suffragette white linked by two 275-yard laurel chains. And at Sweet Briar, they welcome students each semester with step singing, where each class rewrites popular songs to sing to their sister class, rival class, and the senior class. The seniors wear their senior robes, which are decorated and passed down class to class. So that's just a small sampling, but I'm sure each one of us has many other traditions that they could also chat about. So we've talked a lot about alumni, and I'm going to pass it now on to Alexis. You're doing the alumni portion?
Me.
Hey, oh, my apologies.
No worries. Thanks, Audrey, so much. So Audrey, if you'll go ahead and skip over to the next slide for me, that would be great. I want to talk a little bit about leadership at women's colleges and how the alumni network plays a role in leadership experiences and examples. So we'll take a look kind of at the cultivation of leadership in a women-centered environment and the impact of those alumni networks. I wanted to start with a quick question. Did you all know that 83% of leadership positions on college campuses are held by men? But women's colleges, that's obviously not the case. In an article titled "A Guide to Women's Colleges," U.S. News notes that women's colleges are a great choice for students who are interested in leadership. And at a women's college, leadership development is everything that it is at a co-ed college, but with the added focus on building confidence and taking a larger interest in women's empowerment and advocacy, and with the removal of that 83% of men taking over the leadership positions. From leadership programs to professional mentoring and co-curricular leadership experiences, students at women's colleges are encouraged and affirmed to develop their own character and confidence and skills to become strong and ethical leaders. So next we'll take a look at leadership in action on women's college campuses, some of the ways that women's colleges emphasize leadership and empower students to define leadership for themselves and discover what it looks like for them to be a leader. According to the Women's College Coalition, students at women's colleges are more likely to participate in challenging extracurricular activities and to take on leadership roles in those activities. And in another recent study from the National Survey of Student Engagement, researchers found that students at women's colleges were more engaged in campus life and reported the highest levels of support from their departments and advisors. Students at women's colleges also tend to have significantly greater satisfaction with their academic, developmental, and personal experiences in comparison to co-ed counterparts. Women's colleges do often emphasize leadership in coursework and curriculum. There's a few examples at our institutions in particular. At Agnes Scott, incoming students take part in a program known as Legacy, which is an immersive leadership development experience for all incoming students, which takes place before classes start. And Leadership 101 is a course during a student's first semester at Agnes Scott. At Hollins, experiential learning is emphasized as preparation for leadership roles and development. 3 out of 4 students at Hollins complete at least one internship before they graduate, and about half of our students complete more than one, making them leaders in their chosen career fields before they've even graduated. Additionally, about half of students at Hollins study abroad, so they're becoming really global leaders and global thinkers. At Mount Holyoke, the Weissman Center for Leadership supports Mount Holyoke students in developing the skills and strategies they need to become inspiring and effective leaders. Students can explore and expand their own leadership capacities through internships, courses, mentoring, and networking opportunities that span Mount Holyoke's other core programs. And last but not least, an example of leadership and curriculum at Briar is a redesigned general studies requirements and a leadership core curriculum that consists of 10 interdisciplinary courses taken over your 4 years at Briar that prepare students to become leaders, whether it's as the CEO of a company or just a leader among your friends. And finally, according to the Women's College Coalition, on average, women's college alums describe their college experience as transformative and view their alma maters as being more effective in cultivating them into well-educated, successful, self-confident leaders than women from co-ed institutions. So we'll talk a little bit about the alumni network and the involvement of the alumni network in your experience at a women's college. So of course, along with that intentional focus on leadership, there's a focus on strong networking opportunities with alumni. Women's colleges provide students with mentors and examples of women leaders who practice a wide variety of leadership styles in every field that you can imagine. Students from Agnes Scott have access to a network of 14,000 alumni. Hollins, there's a network of 12,000. Briar similarly has a network of about 14,000 alumni. And students at Mount Holyoke College have access to a 38,000 alumni network. With alumni networks around the world, students at our colleges do have access to mentors and advocates. Alumni are very involved in student life and admissions. At women's colleges, some examples included Agnes Scott. Alumni post jobs and internship opportunities for current students through the college's handshake system online. At Hollins, we host an annual Career Connection Conference where 50 or more alumni return to campus every fall for a day full of career-related panels, workshops, speed networking sessions, and other one-on-one mentoring opportunities. These are chances for students to meet alumni in person and then form connections with them that will hopefully serve them later on as well. And at Briar, alumni work with the Career Services Office to link current students with internship and postgraduate job opportunities. They also come back to campus every August for Sweet Work Weeks to help kind of spruce up campus before current students return. So as you can see, alumni of women's colleges really constitute some influential people that are very involved in their college after they've graduated. And on the next slide, you'll see some examples of these leaders. So in spite of the fact that students from women's colleges make up just 2% of the college graduate population, a women's college education prepares you to have a really competitive edge no matter your chosen field. You can see on the slide some examples of alumni from our respective institutions and the accomplishments that they have in everything from government and business entrepreneurship into the arts through creative writing and visual art. All right, and now I think we'll turn things over to Alexis to talk through the after college experience for women's college graduates.
Yeah, thank you so much, Kayla. I really appreciate that introduction. So obviously there's lots to take advantage of during your 4 years, wherever you choose to go. But we also want to talk a little bit about what life after college looks like, and how women's colleges prepare you both while you're there, but also afterwards. So on the next slide here, we have a little bit of a fun, silly quote. And so it says, women's college graduates aren't prepared for the real world. We don't know who quite said that. It's kind of an ancient admissions adage. Maybe a skeptical parent said this, we're not sure, but you might have heard something along these lines. And it's our goal today to reassure you that that's actually not the case. That's actually very false. And we're going to kind of dive into some of the reasons why that just frankly isn't true. So women's college graduates aren't prepared for the real world. And some of the ways that we kind of demystify that, or the ways that I want to demystify that, are that first of all, there are special recruitment that actually happens from Fortune 500 companies in graduate schools who are specifically looking for women's college graduates. Women's college graduates also express feeling more prepared for their first job. They feel like they've learned new skills and they're prepared for future career advancement. They also report greater gains of self-understanding and self-confidence. And women's college alumni are more likely than other graduates to actually be completely satisfied with the overall quality of their education. And lastly, women's college graduates are significantly more likely to earn graduate degrees. So before we dive into that, I do want to take a minute just to poll you all again. Hopefully you're still awake, you're still with us. I might also, while you all are kind of doing the poll, you can either, feel free to use the QR code or go back to the same website. I might need to tap in Kayla though, if we're not able to see the responses, just so she can read some of them to me, because I'm having some issues with my screen. But we'll give y'all a couple seconds just to put in your responses. Kayla, did we get anything coming through?
I don't see any yet, but the poll's live. So as soon as they submit, they should show up.
Perfect. And these can be things that, these can be non-traditional things. If you want to, travel the world post-pandemic after college, feel free to put something like that in. I know when I was in college, I had no idea what I wanted to do after college. That's also okay too. But we'll see if any come through here. All right, well, I think we're just going to go ahead and move on to the next slide. Hopefully throughout our presentation, y'all will be thinking of maybe some of the things you're interested in, whether that's academic programs or what life after a women's college might look like. So how will you leave a women's college? What does that look like? Well, there are kind of 4 categories that are emphasized and highlighted on your screen that I'm going to go through. So first of all, women's colleges receive higher effectiveness ratings than all other colleges and universities for helping students to develop the ability to learn new skills. And I want to highlight very briefly just a few of those skills. So women's college graduates are actually 91% of them say that their school is as effective in teaching them new skills. And so 87% are saying that they learned public speaking from their women's college. 89% are saying that they gained analytical thinking skills. 86% of women's college graduates are leaving with creative thinking. 84% know how to work on a team. And 88% are saying that they are able to relate to people from a different background. So these are really crucial transferable skills, whether you want to be a doctor or a lawyer or an artist or a director of a nonprofit. Really, all of these skills are needed in the job field. And then in terms of preparing you for your career, women's college graduates are almost twice as likely to say that they felt more prepared than their peers for grad school or their first jobs as compared to those who attended public flagship institutions. So 56% felt prepared from a women's college versus 24% at a flagship. Women's college graduates receive higher effectiveness ratings for helping students to be prepared for their first job. And then in addition, women's colleges are also notorious for helping students to be prepared for a career change or a career advancement. So 71% at women's colleges versus only 60% at those flagship institutions. And then thirdly, we prepare students to be self-confident. So 92% of women's college graduates have reported feeling like their college was effective at developing self-confidence and instilling initiative. And then women's colleges receive higher effectiveness ratings again in terms of helping students to learn to be leaders. We've talked a lot about that already, about some of kind of our leadership that's infused into our curriculum. So not a surprise there. And then lastly, and the fourth point I want to make here is that women's college graduates are connected to opportunities. So women's college grads are more likely to utilize a college network. So that's made up of alumni, faculty, and friends to help find a job or be accepted to grad school. So that's 41% versus only 30% at a public. And then overall, women's college graduates are more likely than flagship publics to participate in applied learning, internships, research, and study abroad. And moving on to the next slide here, we kind of have outlined some of our master's programs or partnerships that we all have for graduate school. So I know sometimes a common question that I get is, do you have engineering? Do you have strong STEM fields? Do you have a pre-law track? Do you have a pre-med track? What are some of those, pre-professional tracks you have? Many of us have all of those opportunities. So women's colleges can still prepare you to really be successful in these fields. So for example, Mount Holyoke has a 5-year dual degree engineering program with Dartmouth, Caltech, and UMass Amherst. They also have a 4+1 with the Graduate Institute of Geneva in several areas of study: international relations, development studies, anthropology, sociology, and several more. At Agnes Scott, we do have 3 different 5-year dual degree programs for engineering, nursing, and computer science. We also have some 4+1 master's programs through Agnes Scott that are all based in digital communication. And at Hollins, they have admission agreements with various schools. So they have UVA's School of Public Policy. They have that partnership. They also have a partnership with an osteopathic medicine school, as well as Virginia Tech's College of Engineering. And then they also have a 4+1 Masters of Arts in Teaching. Sweetbriar has a 4+1 Masters of Arts in Teaching program. They also have the ABET accredited engineering program. So you can go ahead and launch into the engineering field once you get that certification. And Sweetbriar is killing the game when it comes to pre-vet and vet school. They have a 95% acceptance rate into veterinary school over the past 10 years. So way to go, Sweetbriar. And then moving on and just thinking about kind of graduate school in general. I know that this bar graph is a little bit difficult to read, but the main takeaway that you need to know is that if you attend a women's college, you're much more likely to pursue graduate school. So the bottom bar there, the 27% is going to be flagship institution students. And then the top bar is women's college graduates. So you're about twice as likely to go to graduate school if you attend a women's college. It's only 27% versus 51%. And then the last slide I really want to highlight is that, jobs in graduate school are important, but your well-being and your happiness is also equally important. So overall, women's college alumni are almost 2 times, 1.75 times more likely to be completely satisfied with the overall quality of their education. So not only, again, are you wanting to be successful, but we also want to make sure that you're also satisfied and happy with your 4-year experience. And then moving into kind of some of our overall admission deadlines, financial aid deadlines, things of that nature. We have kind of an overarching overview of our admission deadlines, also if we're test optional and what we use for financial aid. Across the board, we are largely all for test optional. There's a little bit of a caveat you can see on the slides, but generally speaking, all of us are test optional this year. Many of us use the common application. Some of us also have our own, college or institution application, but we all at least use the common application. And we all use the FAFSA as well, which is really convenient. If you're a senior, that opened up on October 1st. So you want to make sure to fill that out. Mount Holyoke also uses CSS though as well, but all of us use FAFSA. And then lastly, I do want to take a little bit of time just to talk about next steps. So on the next slide here, it has just our visit information. Many of us are offering, I know all of us are offering at least virtual visits. Some of us have kind of different policies on in-person visits, but you can check out those opportunities online. And then also we'd love for you to apply if you're a senior. So you can go onto our website and kind of get started on your application. But I do want to just kind of open the floor up a little bit. We have talked a lot, but we want to turn it over to you. So please go ahead and enter any questions you have into that Q&A box. We would love to answer your questions at this point.
And we do have a question already. One of the students would like those of you who have dual enrollment degrees and partnerships with other colleges to explain a little bit more about those and where they can find that information on your website. Specifically dual engineering degrees.
Sure. So I can take that. You'll have to give me just a second to find the link, but I will put that into, I will respond to you momentarily. So Agnes Scott offers a what we call a 3-2 dual degree engineering program. What it is a partnership with the Georgia Institute of Technology, or Georgia Tech, here in Atlanta. And so students do 3 years at Agnes Scott, and then their junior year, they apply into Georgia Tech's engineering program. You can pick your area of specialty. There's a wide array of options, everything from mechanical engineering, civil engineering, biomedical engineering. You would apply your junior year. It's not guaranteed admission, but typically if you have at least a 3.0 GPA while you're at Agnes Scott, then you're a competitive candidate. And then you do 2 years at Georgia Tech. At the end of those 5 years, you have 2 bachelor's degrees, a bachelor's degree from Agnes Scott and one from Georgia Tech. So I will work on finding that link for you, but that's generally how the dual degree works.
And I also dropped in some links about Mount Holyoke's dual degree programs in engineering. We have partnerships with 3 different colleges and universities, so the students are able to choose which institution they'd like to do the dual degree program in partnership with. And those are UMass Amherst, which most students choose because it's right down the street from Mount Holyoke, Caltech, and then Dartmouth College. And so for us, it's you actually spend 2 years in Mount Holyoke, then your junior year at the partnering institution, then you're back at Mount Holyoke for your senior year, and then you complete that 5th year back at the partner institution. And it's a 5-year dual bachelor's program. So you graduate with a Bachelor of Arts and a Bachelor of Sciences in engineering.
And then I also plugged in one link in my answer in the Q&A box, but at Hollins, we have an early admission partnership with Virginia Tech's College of Engineering, specifically for a Master's of Engineering in Computer Science. So you take a series of computer science and data analysis courses here at Hollins and are able to apply as early as the spring of your junior year for early admission to that Master's in Engineering at Virginia Tech. And typically students are able to complete that degree within just 1 year after graduating from Hollins on the computer engineering track.
Thanks, everybody. And then the next question we have are, can you talk about the ways to connect with current students this semester in the time of COVID?
Sure, I can start us off. Again, I guess starting at the beginning of the alphabet helps with Agnes. So we have several opportunities. I want to acknowledge that it can be challenging to understand the culture of a campus or the student body, especially right now during COVID, when you can't just, come onto many of our campuses. But Agnes Scott has some one-on-one, what we call Scotty chats. And so that's either a Zoom meeting or a phone call with a current Agnes Scott student. So I'm happy to drop the link to sign up there, but I would encourage you to think about maybe having a one-on-one conversation with a student to get a better sense. We also have a lot of virtual visit opportunities. So we have an open house coming up on November 7th. It's from 10 a.m. to noon Eastern. And there is a student panel on as a part of that open house programming. So we're going to have 3 or 4 current students talk about everything from, dining and meal plan to student organizations to residence life. So that's also a really phenomenal way to kind of hear that that current student perspective. And then lastly, you know, I'm the admission counselor who works with Virginia. So if you want to connect with a student with a very specific interest or identity, I'm happy to kind of make a one-off connection as well. We'll put up our email addresses, I think, at the end if you want to shoot us an email.
At Sweetbriar, we are also doing some virtual visits, and we are working on getting twice a week chats with student ambassadors available to students. We're planning to start those next week, just so students do have that chance to interact in kind of a group setting, not so much pressure with a one-on-one, I don't know what to say, sort of setting. And then we are open for in-person visits. So if students are interested in coming to campus, we would love to have you visit. Our students give our tours, so you definitely have a chance to interact with students there, but you would not be able to sit in on classes. Unfortunately, we aren't allowing that this semester. We did do a lot of virtual classes and have those recordings on our website, so you can get a feel for what our professors are like and what the classroom settings are like virtually.
Yeah, and at Hollins, we're not necessarily reinventing the wheel from anything that Alexis and Jesse shared, but it's pretty easy to find all of our virtual programming at hollins.edu and click on the admission tab at the very top, and you'll find all of our virtual visit opportunities. We're hosting about 3 programs a week at this point, and they range from 45 minutes to an hour. So a really quick and easy way for you to engage on either a specific topic, like being a biology major, or being an LGBTQ+ student or a Black student at Hollins, and actually interacting with students that represent those populations in the form of a kind of student panel / conversation. And then we're also hosting some admission overviews and general overviews of our programs so that you can hear general info that way as well. It's really easy to find that. And we are also open for private visits, and that's found on our same spot on the website.
Yep, at Mount Holyoke. Sorry, I had to turn my video off for a moment. You might have noticed I have many cats who keep pacing back and forth in front of my screen. Of course, this is the moment today that they choose to be really active and wake up. So pardon me, but at Mount Holyoke, we are fully remote. So our students are all, most are living remote, with the exception of about 150 students who need to be on campus for one reason or another, but everyone else is at home, and everyone, including the residential students, are also learning remotely. So we are not open to the public for visits. Our admission staff are continuing to work remotely from their homes, as you can see. And so unfortunately, you are not able to have like a formal guided tour on campus at the moment. However, we certainly have self-guided tour packets that we have in a mailbox at the back of our admission building. You're welcome to come to campus and grab one. Our campus is closed to the public for the buildings, but the grounds are open now. There was a moment where they weren't, but they are now. So you are welcome to walk or drive around campus. It's very drivable campus if that feels more comfortable to you, but also easy to navigate on foot. So you can certainly do that with our self-guided tour, which gives you some information about the buildings that you'll be passing, and like a suggested route, and then information about programming. So you can definitely do that. We're also currently building a tour on an app called Guidebook. So that's another way for you to kind of walk yourself around campus, or you can access it remotely and do a more kind of interactive and engaging virtual tour than you might experience via just a video or Zoom session. So look out for that. And then likewise, you can visit our virtual visits site. If you just Google Mount Holyoke College virtual visits, there's lots of opportunities, synchronous and asynchronous, including tri-weekly info sessions, various topic-based sessions that are ranging from panels and chats with current students, with faculty members in various disciplines, identity affinity-based sessions about the application process and financial aid. And then we also have a pretty robust presence on our college YouTube channel if you want to experience campus or some kind of hot topics surrounding campus life and academics, and also some relating to the financial aid and admission application processes.
Awesome. And our last question in our last 2 minutes, what is your final piece of advice for students putting their college list together and considering a women's college? And I guess we'll go in the same order we did last time.
So you said advice, Jesse, what's your advice?
Yep.
I think, I mean, I don't know if this is as women's college specific, but I was going to say that remember that most of us here, pretty much all of us here, are using holistic review and we're test optional. So I know that especially if you're a senior, you're probably anxious and nervous and a little stressed out about your application, maybe because you weren't able to be as involved this year as you would have hoped. Or, you know, maybe you haven't been able to build those close relationships with your teachers or your counselors because you've had virtual online learning. Know that we're going to give some grace and we're going to look at you holistically as a student. So I remember when I was applying, I was super stressed out, and I can only imagine the stress that's kind of compiled on top of applying during a global pandemic. So know that, you know, you want to put in your all and you want to submit the strongest application possible, but do know that admissions reps in general understand that you're living through a pandemic. So take a deep breath, I guess, is my advice. More specifically to a women's college though, I would say, you know, one thing, I'm not a women's college grad, but one thing is that, you know, you really want to have an open mind and explore other options. Don't just do what your friends are doing. So sorry, I was a little long-winded, but I'll pass it off. We'll go. I think Kayla's next. Or do we have enough time?
I think we're out of time.
We're out of time. Sorry, y'all.
Yeah.
All right, guys, we got to wrap up, but I appreciate you all. Let me get up a screen share real quick. Cool. So thank you, everybody. Thank you, panelists, for your time today. Thank you, students, for joining us. We really appreciate that. When you all close this window, there will be a link to a very quick 4-question survey, and we would appreciate any feedback you can provide us. Also, this was just one of many sessions that are being hosted, although this week, I believe, is the last week of sessions that are being hosted, but make sure to sign up for additional sessions at strivescan.com/Virginia. In about a week, you will be able to find this recording session as well as all of the other sessions at strivescan.com/Virginia. Thank you again, everybody, and have a great day.